Good morning and welcome to the CEO Insights from the Columbus Chamber. I'm Craig Marshall. I'm the Office Managing Partner of Ernst & Young, and I'd like to welcome you here this morning. The Columbus Chamber introduced this series in 2013 with our first featured guest, Les Wexner, and it has grown to become one of the most inspiring programs in the community today. This well-received series continues in featuring Sue Zazon, Huntington's Central Ohio Region's president. We're fortunate to have Sue make our stage today and know that she has an engaging story of her journey to share with us. As you enjoy the program, we ask you to keep your phones out. Along with the Columbus Chamber's social media team, our friend Mary Yost, editor of Columbus CEO Magazine, will be following along using the hashtag CEO Insights. Mary will be choosing a question from the online community to ask our guests later this morning. Make sure you use the hashtag CEO Insights. We also welcome your feedback on today's event. Please visit the link on the screens or found in your printed program. We are grateful for continued support from presenting sponsors. First Merchants Bank has been a long-standing partner of not only the CEO Insights session, but the Columbus Chamber. They serve on the Small Business Council and support the Small Business Leader Award. Barnes & Thornburg has joined us this year as a presenting partner for this series. We are very pleased to have their support. We'll hear from both Jennifer and Bill shortly. And you'll see the Ernst & Young logo on the screen. This is our second year in support of CEO Insights. Our business goals align with those of the Chamber, and this partnership makes great sense. Like the Chamber, EY commits to helping build a stronger Columbus community by ensuring that businesses in our community excel. EY has been part of Columbus for more than almost 100 years. Bringing quality, investment, and service to our region has always been a vital part of what we do. Providing assurance, tax, transaction, and advisory services has helped us fulfill our mission. We are proud to be a contributing member of the Columbus Chamber and the Columbus community and are consistently focused on the efforts to build a better working world through a leading people culture and a leading brand reputation with entrepreneurs. The CEO Insight series enjoys additional support from a number of like-minded businesses. Our signature partners, CareWorks, CareWorks Comp, Columbia Gas of Ohio, and Medical Mutual support the Chamber's programs throughout the year. Media support is provided by Columbus CEO and the Dispatch Media Group. These organizations have been partners of the Columbus Chamber for many years and are instrumental in the success of the programs. Joining with the Columbus Chamber in providing media support is WBNS 10 TV. They too have supported the Chamber by providing public service announcements around our meetings and programs. Live Technology joined us as a partner this year and provide audiovisual and recording services for our programs. The CEO Insight series enjoys the support of in-kind partners, allowing us to feature business leaders. Thanks to Dawson for this terrific venue. A catered event served a fine breakfast this morning, and our friends from White Castle who provide print support. Now to get our program started, I'd like to introduce Jennifer Griffith, Regional President, First Merchants Bank, and presenting partner of the CEO Insight series. Jennifer?
Good morning, everyone. How are you? It's certainly a pleasure to be here and to represent First Merchants Bank. We are proud to continue to present this series. This is our fourth year. Referenced 2013. Seems like yesterday Les was with us anyway. Since its inception, First Merchants has had the honor of introducing our featured guests, and our business community has seen some incredible leadership and talent, and we are fortunate to feature the series. Leaders have shared their insights that inspire us, that innovate in our own businesses, and today we have the honor of introducing our featured guest, Sue Zazon. Sue's Huntington Central Ohio Regional President, and she's had a career journey in the banking industry. She joined Huntington in 2016 following the merger with First Merit. Prior to the merger, she was First Merit's Columbus Region President with the responsibility of growing the client base in retail business, the retail business, the commercial banking business, and the private client group. And before joining First Merit, She held a number of positions at Key Bank, being named president of the Central Ohio District in 2001. Sue is not just about banking. She's an incredible community leader. She is the past president for the YMCA of Central Ohio and currently serves as the treasurer. She's a current board chair for Young President Organization Gold. She's served on the Board of Trustees for The Ohio State University's East Hospital and as a leader for a number of United Way campaigns. And if that doesn't keep her busy enough, Sue is also the proud mother of 6 children. Pretty remarkable. Joining Sue on stage and helping us to learn more, we are certainly pleased to welcome Don DePero, the president and CEO of the Columbus Chamber, to lead today's conversation. So everyone, please welcome Sue and Don.
Thank you, Jennifer. Are we on yet? Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks, everyone. Great to be with you. Not quite a Chamber of Commerce morning, but thanks for battling between the raindrops to get here. How are you, Sue?
I'm great, thank you.
We were chatting a little bit before, and of course, in my past life, I came here in January of '96, and a couple of weeks later was the very first, the inaugural Commercial Developers Power Breakfast. And you were at Key, and you were an underwriter,
Yep.
an original underwriter of that event, and we met in February, so that will be 22 years ago, which is just amazing.
It is.
And we're still 39,
right.
So,
Right.
which is great. So, how long has it been now? How many months? When did you officially?
So since last August, the merger closed on August 16th last year. So the reason I remember is not because that date it's my son's birthday. So I will always remember that. And Matthew was born on August 16th, so it's been a little bit over a year. So.
And
yes.
you've spent a career in financial services. I mean,
Yes.
what led you, as a young woman, a young leader in the community, did you have any childhood experiences or anything that kind of made an impression on you and led you into this industry?
So I don't think I was ever really intentional about going into banking, but I do remember the first time I figured out what a loan was. And so my mom raised my brother and I alone until almost middle school. So I was always really, really aware that money was important. You just had to watch it. It wasn't the focus of our family, but we knew that we were on a budget. So back in the day, before there was Uber and a car represented independence. We all remember when we were 15 or 16, I'll be 54, so that kind of ages me. But you had no other way to get around. That's how you had a job. That's how you saw your friends. And we lived a little bit out in the country, so a car was really, really important. So I knew that I wanted a car. And I got a job because you could get one at 15 then, and I put a plan together and gave it to my mom. And I said, I have found a car, it's $995, I've saved $250, which means I have $745 left to pay if you'll help me out, which is divided by 26 payments in a year, $31 per every 2 weeks. And I added $9 for interest. I can pay you $40 every 2 weeks. And I made a sheet, and I had to do it this way. It was 8.5, 11 piece of paper, and it was on a refrigerator. And I put little scissors down, and I did 26 of them. And they all had $40 on them and a date. And if everybody paid back money like you were paying my mom, we'd never have any bad debt because I was terrified to miss a payment. And so every 2 weeks on a Friday, I would tear off my little tab, I'd turn in my money, and the best feeling was at the end of that year was taking the last one and feeling like I did it. And I have a car, I'm independent, and I had pride of ownership of my independence, which just happened to be a car. But that's no different than the feeling that I know that we provide, no matter if it's a business loan, a car loan, whatever it is. It's pride of building something and owning something. And I relate back to that sometimes. And paying that last payment, I don't know if any of you have ever done that. I haven't gotten there on my home yet. I don't know if I'll ever achieve that. But when you make that last payment, it's pretty awesome. So that
That's
was maybe a precursor into my life.
And you were 15.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Give some lessons to my 26-year-old.
Yes. You got to
that's-
terrify them first if you're not going to get paid back.
Well, you know my wife. He lives in a terrified state, so.
I do know your wife.
Yes, you do. So you came to Huntington through, of course, the acquisition of First Merit during the last year. What was it like going through that acquisition process? I know many folks have been through that, but if you could take us through a little bit. And you built a
Sure.
great team at First Merit, brought on all your own bankers. And
Sure. So going back a little bit, I was with First Merit for 10 years prior to the acquisition happening. And at that point in time, it was right before the financial crisis. So First Merit really did not have a brand, and the people coming to First Merit and choosing to join the team were taking a risk. It was building a brand together. We were sort of an extended family. We started really small, and I truly believe we grew into what helped make it very attractive for Huntington to look at First Merit and see the value. We were just a piece of that puzzle, but a really important piece, and every single person took a risk with their career to join the team. I took that very personally because the success and their families, and we were all raising our families together, and all of a sudden you have this information, and everybody assumed I knew a year ahead of time. I knew 2 days ahead of time. So in a lot of ways that was very good because I was operating gung-ho. I did not have a distraction. I didn't have to not tell people on the team. So I found out just a couple days ahead of time, and with that, I learned a few really valuable lessons. And one is sitting down with the team and figuring out all of our leadership opportunities when you're going through uncertainty and change, and it feels scary and you're vulnerable, and talking about that. And even admitting that I was nervous. Leadership through uncertain times does not mean you have to be, completely armored and strong and not look like anything bothers you. You have to develop a plan. You have to be strong. But strength, I learned, can sometimes look like the more human you are, the better it is. So sharing that, yes, I know this is uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable too. We'll get through this together. The number one priority, though, was making sure our clients were taken care of. They were uncertain also, and really communicating that message as a team. And the last thing I learned was every week we had meetings. And even if I didn't have anything to share, and I promised everybody I will share whatever I ethically and legally can share with you that I know. Ask me any question. If I can't answer it, I'll say I can't answer that. And some weeks I didn't even know anything different, but the fact that we sat down and said, I don't have anything new to share, because people get really nervous and uncomfortable. So being disciplined with that consistent communication, and then the team then took that message out to the clients. And we kept having touch points with the clients saying, I don't have any more information, but I'm still here, and I'm going to be your banker. We're fine. And then it translated to really a good process through the merger. So my one word of wisdom would be, strength can look like a lot of things, and many of you have gone through. It may not be an acquisition. It might be a reorganization. It might be you have a new boss and so forth. But being human is really strength, and sharing that you have feelings and you're going through it too, but you'll stack hands and we'll get through it together is really powerful. And don't forget that can be used as a sign of strength. And I learned that going through it, because I'd never gone through anything like that before. So I think that really was one of the golden nuggets of leadership through that process.
Probably helped people stay with you longer too, right? I mean, they were in a more relaxed state. They weren't on edge.
Yes.
And,
So the other thing, I don't know if any of you have read Urban Meyer's book. I read a lot, and it's in his book, but I've read it in several other places, the E plus R equals O. So you have an event, and the R stands for reaction, and equals O is the outcome. So the event is the acquisition. You can't control it. You have a chance to react to it. All you can do is react to it. You cannot control that the acquisition's happening. So you have choices of how to react. And those choices are instrumental in how you handle anything, whether it's a life choice, whether it's a work choice, and you really determine the outcome. I couldn't have been more proud of our team that we rallied together. We called our clients. We were unified. We stayed together. We communicated consistently. We were uncertain together. We were scared together. In the end, the outcome was very, very positive. So that reaction that you can control is just so important to any type of uncertain situation.
That's great. You were just had a wonderful interview in CEO Magazine.
Yes, thank you, Mary Yost. Where are you?
There you go, Mary. We'll be with Mary in just a few minutes. You said you draw strength from who you are as an entire person. And tell us a little bit about that
Sure.
and what that means to you.
So I think that has been a lifelong lesson that I'm still learning. And I have made an intentional choice to bring all the parts of me to work in a responsible way every day. So one of the questions I ask myself every day is, did I make a difference with someone I crossed paths with today? And intentionally, I want to do that in a positive way every single day. So I'll provide some context with it. There's lots of parts of my life that I apply to work, and this one is a new part of my life that I didn't have for years. My daughter, Michaela, and I've talked about it a few times publicly, but not often. She's 22, but she was in an abusive relationship for about 4 years. And our whole family, it's a family situation. It's devastating. It's embarrassing as a mom. It's scary. You don't want to talk about it. There's a stigma attached to it. And so we went through that as a family. And sure, some of my close friends and so forth knew, but I never really spoke about it. And so I decided a couple months ago that part of taking my whole self to work and living the statement that I made, did you make a difference today in someone's life you cross paths with? When I have the opportunity to talk about my life holistically and I can touch someone, let's say there's a mom out there, and domestic violence affects 1 in 4 people. 1 in 4 people. So look around the room. Unfortunately, Huntington is a very large bank. There's 5,000, we have thousands of employees, but 5,000 in Central Ohio. If 1 in 4 people are affected, what kind of difference can I make if I'm sharing that information and someone else knows that there is help there and that it happens. It just happens. And so I want to use my position, which is an honor, to share information that can make a difference in people's lives. Huntington allows me to do that, and I feel honored by that, and I hold that responsibly. But all of you go to work every day, and you all work at different places. And we all, when we really bring ourselves to work every day, there's things about you that I know you carry in yourself that can help others. And I feel like it's a responsibility of myself, of Huntington as an organization, that we have an environment where it's okay to talk about it and make sure we are all helping each other and learning. So that is a great example of how I want to continue to live my life. And that's probably the most recent one where I think being transparent and telling your story, you'll help someone. And the company is going to be stronger because of it. That's just a byproduct of it, if that makes sense.
And to that end, Sue,
Yeah.
you've been public about your bout with breast cancer and how it impacted you and impacted the people around you. And it was about 10 years ago now?
Yeah.
And is that all part of your entire self that you bring to work?
So a lot of, and I think a lot of what we go through, you take to work with you. Again, bringing your whole self to work. I'll share a story that it was about 9 years ago. So I was diagnosed the Monday after Thanksgiving 10 years ago, this coming Thanksgiving. And it was a complete surprise. And so going back, it was a year later, it was 9 years, and our whole family was going to walk in the Race for the Cure. How many of you have walked in Race for the Cure? So there's a sea of white shirts, and then there's the bright pink ones, right, that say Survivor on them in huge letters. And so there were about 15 to 20 of family members and friends, and we all got together. And I remember we were on Civic Center Drive, and we were going to start there. And I had signed everybody up, and if you've ever signed up, you go into the computer and you check are you a survivor or not? Or are you walking for someone, and so forth? And when I had signed up, I signed up everybody under, were walkers, including myself. I did not sign myself up as a survivor. So the story will continue. Samantha, who was 16 at the time, now she is 26, and getting ready. She's in labor right now, so I may be a grandmother shortly. But it's been going on for like 2 days. So if I get it,
she married the doctor.
yeah.
Very good. Way to go, Samantha. Okay.
And so we all put on our white shirts, and I was handing them out. And Samantha said to me, "Mom, why are you wearing a white shirt?" And she said, "Everybody has a pink shirt on that's a survivor." And I said, "Samantha, you never want to join the cancer club, so to speak. Once you're in it for life." And I was tired. And I was like, I don't want to be in that. I just want to blend in. I'm tired of dealing with it. And she looked at me and she said, "Mom, this isn't about you. Do you know you represent hope?" And I was like, oh, out of the mouths of kids. And it was one of those moments where I was kind of embarrassed as a mom. And I thought, wow, I represent hope to other people. It's not about me and that I'm tired of this. It's about and just because I hadn't suffered as much as other people, I think I had cancer guilt and all those weird things that go on in your mind. And what I really represented was for other people to feel hope that they could make it through. I was looking at it from a lens of, I'm tired, and a little bit of victimhood. I was just tired. And that day going forward, I vowed, and I've lived to this vow, and I will continue, if I possibly can, anytime I'm asked to speak, I will speak about it. Anytime I'm asked to raise money, I absolutely raise money, and I proactively share the experience, because maybe somebody will get a mammogram. I might not even know it affected them, and I don't even care. But I can do something about it, and I go back to, did I make a difference in someone's life because they crossed paths with me? If I don't bring my whole self to work and talk openly, I might miss that, and someone might miss that message. So hope, I think, is one of the most powerful things we can represent to people. And so one of the things I want to do is draw a parallel to that with work. So I look at the different things we do at the bank, for example, and go back to the economic downturn in 08-09. We are the #1 mortgage company, and we do a great job, and we're outstanding. And it is one of our major revenue sources for the bank. But that also means we have a big foreclosure department, right? So in 08-09, a lot of people were having difficulties. A lot of things were happening. Certainly, we had a foreclosure department. So you think about hope and the lens you look through and how you choose to deal with business. We have changed the name of that department to the Home Savers Department. So when you call someone and say, your mortgage payment is late, can you help and explain it to me? I want to help save your home. Or you get more information. Isn't that a different message than, this is the foreclosure department, you haven't made your payment, what in the hell's wrong? Not that they said that. I'm paraphrasing. Can that go off the,
That was the attitude,
recording?
That was the attitude.
No, I'm not saying anybody did that.
The intent was there, right?
So the lens you look through of victim, and I've been there, not wearing the pink shirt, and being the advocate for looking through the lens of victim, foreclosure, representing hope, being a home saver, those aren't any different. You're just substituting the purpose and what it is. So I think it's really important to look at your organization, and if you can make a difference and change that lens so that you are making a difference in someone's life. And even the name of that department makes me proud. So I think hope, again, is translatable. My experience with how I reacted to being tired of cancer, I was being a victim, and I had to go through that for whatever reason. But now I want to represent hope. I want to wear that pink shirt, and I wear it proudly. I want to help people save their homes. What difference it makes to say, I saved my home, or I avoided foreclosure. There's a difference, and I think that's important.
I think that deserves a round of applause. That's fabulous.
Oh, thanks.
That really is. So since you made the transition for me, why don't we talk about some of the services? Our chamber, of course, is over
Yeah.
1,400 members. Over 55% of our 1,400 members have fewer than 40 employees. It really
Yes.
is an organization of small businesses. And talk about the small business services, too, that the Huntington provides and loans.
Sure.
You can, I'm sure, approve a loan on your own.
Are there bankers out there?
Yeah.
There's checks and balances for everything.
You're the
so-
president, though,
Right,
Sue. You
right.
can do that.
We'll let that one go. And so when I think about another, and again, I'm tying it back to hope, which may sound touchy-feely to you, but it's no different for business loans. So for example, I am so proud that Huntington is the #2 small business loan, small business administration, SBA lender in the country. In the country. We're a Midwestern regional bank. Yeah, we're $100 billion in assets, but we're not $1 trillion. You know, we're not the B of A and the Chase, and that's really not who we compete with. But we are the #2 generator of SBA loans in the entire country, and we serve in the Midwest, and we only make loans in the Midwest. What does that say? That says we value providing hope to small businesses. We do startups. We find a way to say yes, and we have chosen to partner with the SBA to provide a way to say yes and be that leader. That, again, you can say I make a business loan. What I think we do is we provide hope for communities. We provide hope that I can grow my business from 5 people to 20 people. Those are dreams. That's not a loan, that's a dream. And we use the SBA very effectively to do it. And I'm very proud of that. And it's no different than we just opened a facility in the Northland area. We could have built it lots of different places. And I go back to the word hope. And what making a difference every single day in someone's life because you cross paths and you think about where you put a new operations center in a very large facility. We chose to put it in Northland. It's an area that's undergoing renovation. We've committed to 1,000 new jobs by 2024. That's 1,000 more people with jobs. That represents hope. And $300 million invested in underserved neighborhoods. That's a huge commitment on the behalf of the bank. And all of us want to tie something like that, wherever you work, to how we're giving hope to the people around us and the communities that we live in. So again, hope is a very consistent word, even though it might be facilitated through loans, it might be facilitated through a pink shirt. There's lots of ways to facilitate it, but it needs to come out in everything that you do. And I'm really proud of how we're growing and the choices we're making and how we're growing in Central Ohio and really across the entire bank.
I came out for the groundbreaking. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was
facility.
great.
That was a Walmart? Kmart. Was that a Kmart?
No, it was a
Target?
Meijer. It was a
Oh,
Meijer.
it was a Meijer. But so to
Yes.
show you the size of that facility,
It's huge.
It's immense.
It's
And
huge.
in that neighborhood,
Yes.
will be truly an economic development launch for that whole community,
Yes.
which is great. And you could have put it anywhere. It could
Yes.
have gone to Dublin or New
Absolutely.
Albany. So
Yeah.
why did the bank make an investment in that community when you could have gone anywhere?
And I think it's that whole revitalization of being a catalyst for changing something, making a difference. If we would have put it in one of the suburbs, which is one of the choices, is that a catalyst for change? And really, certainly it's an engine, and it'll always be a positive engine. But think of a facility that's going to hire 1,000 more people. And CODA, the bus line, actually provides direct transportation there that wasn't there before. So we have our own bus stop, and you can actually get there, and access is much easier. So I think it was just a thoughtful, intentional process of making a difference every day in someone's life. So.
And since we're talking about the community partnership of the Huntington and literally hundreds of things that you're involved in, I saw you the morning of Pelotonia. You were
Yes.
on your bike looking for your daughter.
I don't have one of those like really high-tech bikes that you go really
you have
fast. I'm
big-
like up high with. I could have a basket actually. I
You
think.
do have a basket. You do have a basket, but
Yes,
that's
and
great.
so I do have a quick funny story about that. So Steinauer, who's our CEO, rode by me at like 90 miles an hour, and he looks behind. He's like, Zazon. He's like, equipment matters, and he's on this high tech, and I'm like. Seriously? I'm like, I'm working so hard. And Nicole Callum's out here somewhere too. I don't know where you are, Nicole. But she had a bike where the brake was rubbing on the wheel the entire time, and I passed her. I was so proud of myself.
You
And I was
had
like,
a big old rubber-tired,
I
big
did.
tired bike, and
I did.
I thought,
I
wow,
proudly
God bless
went
you.
25 miles, but it felt like 100.
Yeah, that's,
But Nicole's probably felt like it was 200 wherever you are.
that's outstanding. You mentioned the economic downturn of the last decade,
Yeah.
and it was particularly difficult for the banking industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you've spoken about how you use that as an opportunity, because oftentimes there is opportunity in,
Sure.
in adversity.
So,
How did you help grow your market share during that time?
so I think again, I think there's gems in everything. And I think the gem in that is, again, go back 10 years. I joined First Merit with very, very little branding, and it was really a grassroots effort 10 years ago. So the economic downturn happens. It's an event. And I'm going back, to my comments previously. It's an event. I can't control the economic downturn. I don't think any of us can, but we're all in the reaction mode. So you have the event plus reaction. We have a choice to make equals outcome. So choices, this bucket right here. And what I determined the next steps would be is I was going to invest deep. I was going to call the CEO, Paul Gregg, at the time, and my boss and say, now is the time to invest in Columbus. Now is the time, because there are going to be really talented people available. And rather than contract and say, oh, I don't want to make a loan. Now, I was very lucky, and timing helps too, and I'll never underestimate that. First Merit's organization did not lose a dollar during the downturn. So we were positioned to not be completely like this, because we were not as affected, and our profits went down a little bit, but we actually did very, very well. So I went up with a proposal and I said, I want to invest in people. I know we don't, in fact, we were not profitable at the time. Our region was not profitable. We were in the red. And we're headquartered in Akron. And I went up and I said, now's the time to invest. Please allow me to get talented people here. I cannot build this without it. We have to get them. And they're available now because they're vulnerable. Things were happening. National City was having issues. All kinds of things were happening. That was the catalyst. How I chose to react that really ultimately came to an outcome. And we were profitable, I want to say it took 3 years. And after that, we were profitable ever since. And I really feel like it was part of the equation because Huntington's here, headquartered here in Central Ohio. They knew who we were. And our reputation mattered on how they felt about looking at First Merit as a positive merger. And that's what we accomplished in Columbus. No, we were not large, but I felt like we were mighty, and we had the most talented people. And I was so proud of that. And I think that played into the whole bigger picture of why things happen. And sometimes you just got to invest. And timing was good, but it took a little bit of courage to say, I would like X amount of dollars to invest in people because they're available now, and I promise we'll be profitable. But I had a pro forma too. It wasn't just my word they were taking. So I had numbers.
You mentioned your age, 39, and it had to be difficult being, a woman in your industry early on. But how did you use that to your advantage? How did you use that as an opportunity in the face of adversity?
So I was at, I don't know if anybody went to the gender equality, it was a conference last week or the week before, and I thought there were a couple interesting facts, and I'll just mention a few of them. Do you know that men have 40 times more testosterone than women? Anybody know that? I did not know that. I knew they had more. I just didn't know how much more. Testosterone's a hormone, okay? Women have a lot more estrogen, right? Estrogen's a hormone. So men are hormonal too, is my message. I'm joking. But anyway, where I'm going with this, it does have an ending, is that...
I can't wait.
That, I look back and I look at conversations very typical with my husband, and this will resonate with many of you. Someone we know will have a baby, and he'll be like, oh, the baby's good, it's out, and it's alive. I'm like, okay. How big? When was it born? Is mom okay? What color hair? I need more information, right? And so at this conference, they were talking about how women are wired to ask different kinds of questions. And so I thought about how annoying I am at work because I'm always like, how is that done? Could we do this better? Why is it done this way? I am like a question asker. I don't think that's a good word, but we'll use it. And so I was thinking about when I was listening at the conference about that concept. And I thought, I think it has affected me because I don't think I raised my hand or had a strong voice for a while. And I would have all these questions in my mind, whether it was because I was wired that way or I kind of make light of the gender. I think there's validity to it. And I would sit, and instead of raising my hand, I would sit quietly because I don't know, it was like, does anybody else have this question? And there wasn't enough, usually I was the only woman in the room because I grew up a lot in commercial banking, which is predominantly men, and it still is predominantly men. And I had advocates that were men that I think believed in me before I really knew to believe in myself and gave me the confidence and courage to raise my hand, have a voice, ask those questions. And I look at that as probably being the biggest glass ceiling that I created for myself. It was having a voice, asking those questions that were going and racing through my mind and thinking, what will they think of that? Will they, or I might say, how does that make people feel? That's a really loaded question. I ask that a lot because lots of times you do things and you don't think about the impact on a person or how it makes someone feel. I naturally think that, just how I'm wired. And a lot of people don't want to talk about that. And I do. And so what I've figured out is the questions that go through my mind are a unique perspective, and I need to be at an organization that values that. I didn't have that all the time when I was younger. I've had, like I said, I had wonderful advocates, and now I have lots of role models at Huntington. I'll give you an example. My boss, Sandy Pierce, is a woman. Our board of directors at Huntington is 31% diverse. We've set a very tangible goal to be 43% female upper management leaders at Huntington. We are at 41 now, but 43%, we're evaluated on it. I love working for a company, and it's not about men and women. It's about uniqueness of thought. It's about valuing that thought. And I want to feel valued because I have that question that I might have been afraid to ask 20 years ago. So I look at my position as an honor, and I want to reach back, and I don't mean that in any other way, but very respectfully, and help women, anybody, men, anybody, raise their hand earlier to create a culture so that raising your hand and feeling like your question is valued is important. So again, I go back to that's important to Huntington, and I feel like it's important, and I feel like I can set that value, and that's something I take very seriously. But can I do something to make a difference in someone's life every day? Even if I don't realize it, if someone raises their hand and they might not have, I am grateful. And somehow, maybe there was a little piece of it that they were like, oh, this is a safe place. That's the same thing if you're, any type of, whether it's, like I said, gender. We have what we call business resource groups that once you come to Huntington, and we really want a unique, diverse workforce, you've got to stay and feel welcome. So you can raise your hand and have a voice and feel like the way you think differently is valued. So we have business resource groups, and we have a veterans one. So if you were in the military or a family member served in the military, you have a unique lens. And we just hired a veteran advocate that is going to work on programs specifically for honoring our veterans because of that BRG group. So we're making a difference that way. There's a women's group. We have an Asian, I call them BRGs again, BRG. We have an LGBTQ BRG. We have women's. We have a young professional. We have a lot of them, and they're all manned or womaned by, I know that wasn't very funny, sorry, by people that are part of that group. It's not led, and they have executive sponsors, and we're trying to continue to grow that because once you're at a company, and once I was at Huntington, it's really important to have a culture of raising your hand and your opinion being valued, and I think that makes a difference. So, yeah.
And through it all, you've raised 6 beautiful children.
Yes.
And how did you manage it? I mean, how was, because
Sometimes not very well.
I don't care, well, I don't care what, a lot of the responsibility falls to mom,
Yeah.
no matter what anyone says.
Well,
So-
I have to acknowledge my husband. He's
Right.
awesome, and I couldn't have done it without him. So I got to plug in there for Mike. He'll be so happy.
Yes. Mike he's done
Again,
a good job.
Yes, he has.
You got a good one.
So, along the same theme of bringing your whole self to work, I'll share a story that it happened. Don't want to say it was intentional. Now I feel very intentional about it, but I was approximately 35 years old, and I was managing the commercial banking group at KeyBank at the time, and this was my first really big leap for a leadership position, and I was certainly the dark horse. I was young, and I had never really led a large group of people or had a huge P&L responsibility. So there were 5 of us internally that were all interviewing for it, and external candidates. And at the time, I went to Cleveland, and I had like 8 interviews all day long, and it was just long. And I got asked the question by Bob Jones, who many of you may know. He was actually the president of Society Bank and went to Key. He was a mentor of mine. And he said, Sue, if I just look at your resume, I would say this is too big of a leap for you. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to end well. and he said, how do you respond to that? Because you're going to be leading a lot of people, and a lot of people won't even report to you. And it takes a very special leader to influence and not have the stick, so to speak. You have there's a carrot and the stick. When you have a direct line of report, sometimes, that's easier. Then you have all these dotted lines, and your job as a president is to bring all these dotted lines and your direct lines and move them forward together in a way that works, and you're growing revenue, and people want to be there. But you don't have the stick. Not that you use the stick, but sometimes a direct line makes a difference in how people pay attention. Let's be honest. So I said to him, you're right. I have only led organizations where or led segments where I had a lot of straight lines. And I think I've done a good job with that. But I can tell you, as unconventional as this is, and I would encourage all of you to think about it, use your whole person. And this is how I use my whole person. I said, I am a stepmom. I'm a mom. And a stepmom dotted line is the hardest dotted line I live all the time, because you don't have the direct line. And a lot more people are in control, and you have a lot of influence. And I'll never forget Catherine, who is now, let's see, she's getting ready to have a birthday. She'll be 32, actually, in November. She was 8. And when we got married, the kids were 2, 5, 7, and 8. And then we had Mick. So we had 5 at the time this happened. And it was zone management. I mean, it was chaos. You name it, it probably happened in our house. But we all survived. And I said, I have figured out that being a stepmom is the ultimate dotted line. And I am moving our family, our blended family, through a lot of really difficult circumstances forward. And there are a lot of direct lines. There's a lot of things I can't control. But I know that I am making progress. And those same communication skills, where I've made mistakes, where I've done things right, I'm going to apply to work. Because if I can move a blended family forward, and there's a lot of dotted lines, and they're bloodlines, then I can do it in an organization. So some people might look at that and say, well, that means she's going to be home all the time. She's working as, she's really concerned with, overly concerned with her family. Is she really going to be at work? And what I said was, the best part of me is what I do with my family. Why wouldn't I want to bring that best part of me to work too? And I make mistakes, and I hope I learn from them. But I'm not going to be honest unless that best part of work comes to me, and I guarantee you I can manage dotted lines, because I am moving my family forward. It is my #1 priority. I got the job. So Bob Jones, anyway, again, he was one of my advocates that helped me raise my hand and have a voice. When I shared that, it truly does make sense. So don't be afraid in your organization to take your entire world of experiences. It matters. And not a lot of people, again, do dotted lines in a way that they really acknowledge how tough they are. It's tough. And learn from it. And my family has been my best teacher by far.
It's okay to show a little vulnerability every once in a while. Right?
Yes, I always say, so when I was talking about Catherine and she was 8, she looked at me and said, and kids are so honest compared to being at work sometimes. She said, I don't have to listen to you. You're not my mom. So I think about when I'm in a meeting and I'm looking at someone, they look kind of disengaged and they're a dotted, I don't look at people as dotted lines, and if they had a ticker tape across their forehead, it would say, I don't have to listen to you, you're not my boss. They're really not paying attention, right? It's the same thing, only my daughter was being honest with me and saying it, I don't have to listen to you, you're not my mom. So how do I help her listen to me? How do I help a person that doesn't directly report to me feel value and move forward? It's the same thing. It is the same thing. It's the same emotional content.
You're talking about moving forward. What are some of the challenges that you're facing now? You've replaced a great leader in Jim Kunk, who was here forever.
Yes.
Yet it was a wonderful transition. I don't know. I haven't seen too many transitions like that, but you're leaving your mark now. You're making your mark.
Yes.
You're taking over the regional bank. What are your challenges throughout the rest of the year and beyond?
So I'll first talk about the industry, and all the bankers in the room will feel it. It is incredible the amount of prioritization on cybersecurity. If you think about, your company, whatever your company might be, and what could bring your company to your knees overnight, right? And banks represent trust. We represent safety, and that feeling that of security. And so cybersecurity has taken on a huge priority, and we spend a ton of time doing that. So talking about that, sharing that. We have recently added, his name is Chris Inglis, to our board of directors, and he was the head of the NSA. So our board of directors is changing. We used to not have people with things like that. That wouldn't be a quality we were looking for. So I think we're spending a lot of time on different priorities. And I enjoyed the transition from Jim. All the credit goes to him. He was a wonderful, graceful transition partner on the way out. And I always tell him he's like the he always says, well, this is the backstory, Sue. And there's always a backstory. And so one of my challenges is to really take, if any of you have ever had been in an organization where you are the headquarters, it is a different feeling than being a regional partner or a regional part of the bank. So taking headquarters and making change is a completely different skill set and takes a different level of thought process than it does when you can just go out and do stuff, right? And there's a lot of dotted lines, and you've got to make sure the dotted lines are going together. And so I've spent a lot of time building relationships because I didn't have the strong 30-year relationships that my predecessor did. And I want to build them so that I can have dotted lines that move forward together. And really, that was the priority of my first year. So,
That's great.
and meeting budget. Got to do that.
This is the time when we call on our good friend Mary Yost. And we have to congratulate Mary. Mary has been the editor of CEO for a number of years, recently named the editorial page editor of the Columbus Dispatch. Congratulations, Mary. That's fabulous. We'll miss you, but please come back to CEO Insights and join us whenever you can. You typically take a question from our partners in social media. Do you have one for us this morning?
Thanks, Don. I do. We have a question from Kelly Atkinson, who is one of our champion tweeters
Oh.
at these events and at many others around town. Kelly loves the whole self concept that you're talking about, Sue. And you may have already answered this a little bit, but the question she asks is, which aspect of your life do you consider the biggest piece of your identity?
I do think I've answered that, but I'll reiterate it because I think it's really important. And I'll go back to if my family and I live the values that I want to make a difference every day in the paths that I cross, and my family is the biggest part of my life, I have to honor that and take that to work every day. Does that mean I'm Mother of the Year and, baked all the cookies for the, no, I buy the cookies and I send them in for the bake sale. I'm not always there, and I'm not always balanced. But taking every part of me to work honors my family. It honors them because they've gone through it with me. And I take a lot of pride in honoring my husband and my children, now soon to be another grandchild, every day, because I think that can only result in really wonderful things. And I make better decisions because of that priority. And I'm proud of that. And I don't want to downplay that. And there was a time, as I said, where I felt like my voice or I didn't raise my hand, and I was not as intentional about that. And I think as you age, there's a lot of great things that come with it. And like I said, I read a lot. And John Maxwell, in his book, and I can't remember which one it is, but he talks about experience. Experiences are great, but experiences don't help you unless you learn from them. And that creates wisdom. So if someone says, well, I have a lot of experience in managing a group, well, so what? What did you learn from it? How did you apply yourself? What changes did you make? Experiences are things that happen. What you react to and how you choose to respond. When I bring everything about me, hopefully I make better intentional choices. And when I make a mistake, I fix it, take responsibility for it, and move on. That's what I've done in my personal life, and I want that to be a part of my professional life. And they're one and the same to me.
That's fabulous. I have to. You hosted our government affairs steering committee a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And do you like drop these pens from
So
helicopters
do you know what
all
I do?
over the?
So we have.
Pens are like I reached. I swear to God, I did
I know.
not plant this. This was not. It was in my pocket of this suit.
So we are
put it on
on
this
our
morning.
43rd millionth pen. That's a
Yeah.
lot of pens. A
43rd
lot of
million.
pens. And
Sounds
sometimes
about
I think
right.
they should do like a, maybe we have one, I don't know it, but like, where have the pens gone? And like follow it across the universe, right? And there's probably some all around the world. But the pens are interesting. And for those of you, if you heard the story, I asked, why did we do these pens? And apparently, back when they started on our first pen, it was, why do you chain the pens when you go into a branch? It makes us feel like we're doing something wrong, like we're going to steal the pen. And so from that comment in a customer focus group or something like that came, let's just give them a lot of pens. Rather than all our clients, we want them to have pens. We want them to do transactions. When they're chained down, does that feel or look very nice? Probably not. Anything chained down doesn't sound good to me. And so that's how the origin of the pen came about. But one thing I do, and this is funny, and I make my kids do it too. Again, it's a family event. I'm like, when you see a pen that isn't a Huntington pen and it's another bank, sorry, Jennifer, and you announced me so nicely. Take it. And I give them all, we have, the Ziploc bags. And actually, in my bag in my car, I have about 200 of them. So the Ziploc so that you can zip it shut. And there's like 200 pens in there. And by the end of the week, I'll probably have 20 Chase pens and things like that. And I bring them home.
You snuck into my house and planted that pen, didn't you?
So I replace it with a Huntington pen. I put the other one in my purse. And I feel so fun at the end of the week because I feel like it's like contraband or something. I'm like, oh, look how many I got this week. And then I throw them away. Sorry. And which makes me feel a little bit guilty from an environmental standpoint.
I want to give Jennifer a shout out. I said when we were standing up there, I said, how broad-shouldered. Jennifer and First Merchants are a sponsor of this event, and here she is introducing us. And Sue turned and said, well, Jennifer's awesome.
I did.
So there you
Yes,
go.
absolutely.
That's great. And our friends from Barnes & Thornburg, another great underwriter, and are going to conclude us this morning. Isn't Sue just fabulous? Great.
Thank you. So,
Can you hang around for a few minutes maybe and chat with some of our guests?
so if I want to always have you take away one thing, and again, trying to make a difference in some small way when I cross paths with people is such a priority for me. please try and do the same thing today. But one of the best things is I actually can substitute Huntington's name in that sentence. And that's why I love what I do. Huntington makes a difference in every life and every path we cross. And I want to make a difference in every life and path I cross. And that those are interchangeable is what means bringing your whole self to work. Because if it wasn't interchangeable, I ask you to think about where you work, connect the dots, and find a way to make that happen. And I'll finish with my connecting of the dots. So I go back to my daughter, Michaela. Huntington is investing in the new domestic shelter in Franklin County. Now, Mick never was in a domestic shelter, but she could have been. And the fact that Huntington's investing in that is my way of connecting the dots and sharing. So connect the dots with your organization and understand that you really represent, or you can start that type of movement within your company if it's not there and you don't know how to connect the dots. So I try and connect the dots every day and make a difference. So that's it.
And we have
Thank you for coming.
We need to finish by saying Michaela is doing wonderfully.
She's trending up. I call her a trend line. You know, it's like this as you go, and we're trending up. She's doing great. Thank you. Yes, you know her. So,
Yes, I-
yes. So thank you very much.
Right, so Jennifer's awesome, but no mercy when it comes to pens, awesome or not, right? So the good, right. Yeah. So the good part of going last is you can reflect just for a few seconds on what you've just heard. The bad part is that, boy, these are tough acts to follow. So thank you, Don, and particularly Sue, again. So this is, as mentioned, this is our first year sponsoring CEO Insights. And if you're here, you have some passion for Central Ohio already. And I think as you sit here and listen to these leaders, and we've had 4, I guess actually 5 great ones this year since we had 2 one session. I just think it captures the things that are good about Columbus. And I was jotting, I think Jennifer and Craig wondered what I was doing, jotting down some notes, listening to Sue, and things I'm thinking are energy, innovation, sort of a Midwestern groundedness, with the exception of certain high-level bicyclists. They're not grounded. I experienced that too. Collaboration, transparency, inclusion, the uniqueness of thought. I love that. We'll be using that at Barnes and Thornburg. So I just think there's no, of all the places we all go and things we do, there's nothing more than this event just sort of captures all that for us. And so we're just thrilled to have been a small part of that. And which sort of my chamber plug, this is a good example of what the chamber team does, because they do have all these members. You've got Huntington Bank, you've got big law firms, accounting firms, and you've got 55% of these small businesses, and that's a hard job to serve all those people in the different ways. And we were sitting here about a year ago, and I said, boy, I want to be a part of this. And probably, I think, called Julia Arkwright at the chamber and said, plug me into this. And here we are, and they really help us sort of figure out what makes sense for us. So CEO Insights, the planning for 2018 is underway. The last item of business is that the sort of first signature event next year, the 2018 Columbus Chamber Annual Meeting, is on February 8th. So I know most of you get the emails. Watch for those sorts of things. And with that, we'll adjourn. Let Sue check her email to see how her daughter and potential grandchild are doing. And go Tribe. Thank you.